Ahem. Well, it's Super Tuesday across America, and predictably, establishment favorite Marco Rubio is the most desperate of the Republican candidates, childishly insulting Donald Trump about everything from his tan to the size of his manhood. Clearly, there's only one best choice for America, and that's Donald Trump. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr and in the book Real Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM, The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, we've already got nefarious goings-on across the fruited plains. This I took off the internet. I quote, "People voting for Donald Trump in today's Super Tuesday Texas primary are seeing their ballots changed to show a vote for Marco Rubio. Numerous callers flooded Austin-based radio station KLBJ this morning with reports of mistakes after they tried to vote for Trump. According to KLBJ, computer freeze-ups and other glitches are causing voting snafus at locations all around Travis County. Trump supporters previously accused the Rubio campaign of stealing votes in Iowa after the Florida senator achieved a surprise third-place finish. If Rubio fails to secure a strong finish in today's primaries, he could be forced to drop out of the race altogether. Rubio's super PAC has poured $1.5 million of its budget into Texas in an effort to take delegates away from home state favorite Ted Cruz." Unquote. My friends, do I think that the GOP power establishment would dare influence the actual votes being cast? You bet your ass I do. Item from Politico. Donald Trump on Tuesday called on Marco Rubio to drop out of the 2016 presidential race if he doesn't do well on Super Tuesday. "I think he has to get out," Trump told Fox News in a phone interview. "You know, he hasn't won anything. And Ted Cruz very rightly points out, Marco has not won." Unquote. My friends, Marco Rubio should drop out, not only because he hasn't won a single thing yet, but because he's humiliating himself in public, trying to make jokes about Donald Trump. Well, Marco Rubio is no comedian. He's not clever. He's not doing anything to further the intellectual discussion in this presidential race. And he's an embarrassment to the GOP. He needs to drop out. The GOP needs to give up and stop opposing the will of the American people. Americans, both Republican and Democrats and independents, clearly are saying in thundering tones that they want Donald Trump. And if they're going to stand up against a tsunami like that, then the GOP leadership is going to find itself out lobbying somewhere. Item from the Boston Herald. Nearly 20,000 Bay State Democrats have fled the party this winter, with thousands doing so to join the Republican ranks, according to the state's top elections official. Secretary of State William Galvin said more than 16,300 Democrats have shed their party affiliation and become independent voters since January 1, while nearly 3,500 more shifted to the Massachusetts GOP ahead of Super Tuesday's presidential primary. Galvin called both significant changes that dwarf similar shifts ahead of other primary votes, including in 2000, when some Democrats flocked to the party in order to cast a vote for Senator John McCain in the GOP primary. The primary reason? Galvin said his guess is simple, quote, "the Trump phenomenon," a reference to GOP frontrunner Donald Trump, whom polls show enjoying a massive lead over rivals Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and others among Massachusetts Republican voters. Item from Raw Story. Trump is the only member who has stood in front of the Jewish community and said, "I don't want your money." Louis Farrakhan, told his followers, quote, anytime a man can say to those who control the politics of America, "I don't want your money," that means you can't control me. And they cannot afford to give up control of the President of the United States. Now, not that I'm for Mr. Trump, but I like what I'm looking at, unquote. My friends, let's be really, really clear. Louis Farrakhan is an anti-Semite. He's a racist, he's a hater, and he's a fool. He's going to go on about all white people being devils and all Jews controlling the world. and that no one pays attention to him. But from the school of even a broken clock is right twice a day, even Louis Farrakhan, a cretin, can see the obvious truth that Donald Trump is not bought and paid for by the establishment. Now, if someone on Farrakhan's lowly level can recognize that, I have trouble understanding why anyone would support a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz, let alone a Hillary Clinton. Item from Breitbart. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich declared on Friday that Chris Christie's endorsement of Donald Trump is a great sign for Trump's chances to become the standard bearer of the Republican Party. Gingrich tweeted the following, quote, "This Chris Christie endorsement of Trump is a real signal to GOP establishment that they'd better begin thinking about Trump as the future," unquote. Gingrich touted Trump's potential in an exclusive interview with Breitbart News in December before any primaries had taken place. Quote, "I think he represents a different era in the conservative movement," Gingrich said. "The system has become so incompetent and outrageously bureaucratic. The centers of power are so in New York, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles that the whole rest of the country is in rebellion. People are looking for somebody who can kick down the doors. It's a very deep, very real movement," Gingrich said. Agreed. Item from the Daily Caller. The latest poll from NBC News and SurveyMonkey has frontrunner Donald Trump polling higher than Marco Rubio, 79%, and Ted Cruz, 97%, combined. Trump is now the first choice for president for 40% of all Republicans. Comparatively, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz earned 21 and 18% respectively. Item from the Daily Mail. You know what? I'm going to hold on to this item from the Daily Mail because we're just about to hit our break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about politics. We're going to talk about Islam. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of great stuff, my friends. It's Super Tuesday. Wherever you're listening to me, if you haven't voted yet, do yourself and your family and your neighbors and your country a good turn. Go out and vote for Donald Trump, if for no other reason than the fact that he's not bought, doesn't take money from the donor class, doesn't accept special interest money. He's not a political whore. He's a businessman who's gotten into politics to help America. And that's why I got into the radio business. It's Real Truth. We'll be back.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the point of people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's servants, not the people's masters? Liberty Forum and the Freedom Rider says officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world.
All right.
This you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
guys, welcome back. Howard Riell. The show is called Real Truth. It's Super Tuesday, and I will tell you point blank, there are some very, very excellent, solid reasons to vote for Donald Trump. If you haven't voted yet, no matter where you are, the smart vote is for Donald Trump. Here are some of those reasons. Listen carefully. Take notes if you like. Here we go.
Alright, so I'm going to make this video short, sweet, concise, and to the point. I'm not going to take up all your time by giving you some boring, drawn-out video of me struggling to tell you why I'm voting for Donald Trump this election. I'm simply going to state the main reasons as to why I support him, and why I believe you should too. I would also like to state that, regardless of which candidate you support and which candidates you do not, to group every candidate's supporters into one category and call all of them stupid is not only untrue, but also makes you look extremely narrow-minded. I acknowledge that there are intelligent people who support Hillary Clinton, Jeb Bush, and Bernie Sanders. I just have no idea why. First off, I've always held a strong belief that we need a business person in the White House. Career politicians get too comfortable when they get elected. When a politician takes office, they can kick back and play round upon round of golf instead of actually working hard to get things done. Why is this? Because they're guaranteed set time intervals when they're elected. Senators get 6 years at a time to screw around, and presidents get 4 to 8 years, depending on if they're re-elected. A representative, however, is a little less lucky with their short, little 2-year terms. These facts further my belief that there should be congressional term limits, but I digress. My point is that in the world of business, you don't have a set time interval of how long your success will last. You are constantly having to strive and work harder in order to maintain your success. Otherwise, your business will fall apart in the blink of an eye, and you'll end up on the streets. I support Donald Trump for the same reason I would support someone like Carl Icahn or Mark Cuban if they ran for president. They've led employees in business, therefore giving them leadership experience. They're experienced in economics, and they know how to get things done on time and under budget. Just look at the Women's Skating Ring, Trump International, Trump Tower, and the old post office transformation in Washington. All Trump projects, all ahead of time and under budget. My next point involves Trump's deal-making skills. Now, if you see Trump's bombastic style on television, you would assume he's a hothead and would continue his history of outspokenness into the White House, making him destroy foreign relations with nations all over the world. This is simply not true. If Trump was this way in business, do you think he would have gotten very far? Of course not, and his company would have been gone a long time ago. In fact, Trump is widely considered to be one of the best deal makers available in real estate, and the principles of deal making can be easily translated into government. Trump has not only said he would much rather sit down with nations like Russia and Iran rather than ignoring them, but has also stated that he'd be a great negotiator with Democrats in Congress, and would rather make deals with them instead of having one side given to the other. These basic yet fundamental deal-making skills are further explored in Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, which I highly recommend you read. It is a phenomenal business book and gives you some insight into Trump himself. A big reason as to why I will not be voting for any other candidate than Donald Trump comes from how he is financing his campaign. All of the other candidates running are currently receiving vast amounts of funneled money through various PACs, political action committees, and donations that are from large, wealthy corporations, whose goals are to benefit themselves rather than the American political system. Trump, however, is the only candidate who is self-funding his campaign, and refuses to be bought off by the wealthy political class. This is why you constantly see negative ads and reporting on Trump, rather than positive messages or endorsements. After all, this may surprise you, but more than 3/4 of what you watch on a daily basis is owned by only 5 corporations. Therefore, are you really seeing much of a difference in what's being reported? On the topic of media bias, there is a commonly held misconception that Donald Trump is racist because he is against illegal immigration. When Trump first announced his candidacy, the media blatantly took what he said about illegal immigrants out of context and stated that he was racist because of it. If you watch the uncut video, Trump was referring to illegal immigrants who enter our country through the Mexican border, not Mexicans or Latinos specifically, and that it is a national security risk for undocumented immigrants to enter the country when we have no idea who they are or what their past contain. This is common sense, of course, but if the donors who also own news channels let you hear what he really said, you would be less inclined to support a puppet like Hillary or Jeb Bush, wouldn't you? Trump being racist simply isn't true, as illegal immigration is a very big problem that must be addressed. An article by the Center for Immigration Studies shows that, quote, if immigration continues as the Census Bureau expects, the nation's population will increase from 309 million in 2010 to 436 million in 2050, a 127 million, also 41%, increase. and that the immigrant, legal and illegal share of the population will reach 1 in 6 U.S. residents by 2030, a new record, and nearly 1 in 5 residents by 2050. This is a major problem, as overpopulation will hurt the nation's infrastructure and economy. You can look at other countries like China and India for reasons as to why overpopulation is a negative to a country's stability. Trump wants to build a wall to replace the currently unstable fence across the southern border, which can be easily crossed without much effort. Trump critic Jorge Ramos claimed that Trump's immigration plan would cost nearly $137 billion. Ramos, however, conveniently left out that by implementing this plan, the United States would save $2.7 trillion a year, plus benefits to community safety, public education, and our nation's strained entitlement programs. Ramos's estimate means that for 3.6% of the federal budget, the United States could permanently resolve its illegal immigration problem. Sound unreasonable to you? Not to me. Trump also wants to end sanctuary cities that harbor illegal immigrants, which would reduce crime rates in cities like San Francisco, San Jose, Detroit, and Chicago. Trump's tax plan is a major net positive for the United States. The media knows that his tax plan would be widely positively received if people heard more about it, which is why you probably haven't heard much about it. Trump's tax plan would reduce the current tax code from 7 to 4 brackets, simplifying the filing of taxes and, as Trump puts it, would put H&R Block out of business. The 4 tax brackets would consist of the following. Those making $150,000 a year or more would pay 25% of all taxes. Those making from $50,000 a year to $150,000 would pay only 20% of taxes. Those who make from $25,000 a year to $50,000 a year would pay only 10% of taxes, and those paying $0 to $25,000 a year would pay absolutely no taxes, while not receiving a tax refund, but still, they make Trump out to be the snobby rich candidate who only tends to the wealthy, yet he has the most populist tax plan of any candidate running. Trump's tax plan, by the way the largest tax cut since World War II, not only helps small businesses thrive by having lower tax rates and more money for investing, but it also ends corporate tax loopholes and would make those like hedge fund managers pay the amount of taxes they should be paying now instead of getting tax exemptions that are set in place by the presidents and congressmen they buy off in elections. I'll reiterate this point again. The rich donors who are currently getting large tax exemptions also buy off other candidates and own news organizations, like Rupert Murdoch, for instance, who owns News Corp, which owns Fox News. Why on earth would they make a presidential candidate who is talking about ending their corporate tax exemptions look good on television? They wouldn't. Lastly, Trump wants to end corporate inversion, which is currently preventing businesses from bringing money they earned overseas back into the United States. If he does so, these businesses can reinvest their money into our economy, ultimately creating more jobs and infrastructure. One last note. To critics who say Trump is not a strong believer in the U.S. Constitution, I would ask you to please read his policy paper he released regarding the Second Amendment, as well as its importance to our society. And those who purport this theory, may I ask what Trump has proposed that is unconstitutional? I think why a lot of people like Donald Trump is because he says what's on his mind and refuses to take crap from people. And although I appreciate that immensely, I feel that there are lots of other legitimate reasons as to why people support him too. If you don't like Donald Trump because of his personality, I would ask you to please reconsider. It doesn't matter if he's a nice guy or a mean guy, because that doesn't correlate to his job performance and his competence. I don't want a nice guy. I want someone who can get the job done. However, I do think Trump is a nice person, and I think that although he's the richest candidate running, he supports the little guy, and that this is his version of philanthropy, of giving back. Donald Trump is the only candidate I trust, and the only candidate who I will vote for. But most importantly, he's the only candidate who can make America great again.
Absolutely true, my friends. I couldn't have said it better. Well, all right, maybe I could have said it better, but he said it well. By the way, you'll find that video on my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio. Go there, share it with everybody, because they've got a right to know the truth also. Item from the Daily Mail. Horrific new details of how a nanny beheaded a 4-year-old girl and paraded through the streets of Moscow with her severed head have been revealed. The woman, dressed in a burqa, threatened to blow herself up as she walked near Oktyabrsky Pole metro station, holding up the little girl's head. Investigators claim she murdered the girl, who's believed to have had learning difficulties, after starting a fire at the child's family's home in a block of flats. The nanny, Gulchera Babakulova, 38, from Uzbekistan, has been arrested. It's now known that The beheaded remains of the girl, identified as Anastasia Mesherakova, were discovered inside her cot. Her body had been dressed in her nightclothes, consisting of a t-shirt and shorts. According to the local media, Babukolova shouted in the street, quote, "I hate democracy, I am a terrorist, I want you dead. They've become so hardened, you have eliminated so many of us. Look, I am a suicide bomber, I will die, doomsday will come in a second," unquote. She pulled the severed head out of a bag and walked near the metro station entrance to northwest Moscow. Video of the dead girl's mother, Ekaterina Mesherakova, collapsing in the street upon hearing the horrific news has emerged. She's taken to the hospital in an unconscious condition. Anastasia also had a father, Vladimir Mesherakov, who is a technician at a mobile phone company, and a brother, Konstantin, 15. The main entrance to the block of flats is being guarded by armed police. Eyewitness Alexander Shuvalova, a student from the capital, said, "When I got close to the metro, I saw a woman running along the street. I could see she had hair in her hands or something like that. She was waving this thing and screaming something and drawing some shapes in the air. This woman either had a birthmark or a wart on her right cheek. It was a distinctive feature because she was dressed entirely in black. I realized it wasn't a wig as I thought initially, but a head. That's why blood was dripping on her shoes and skirt. I stopped, had a cigarette, tried to get my breath back to normal because I was so shocked." She claimed the security guard and 2 policemen missed the chance to detain her. Alexandra added, quote, "People ran away from her. I saw 5 people fleeing. No one tried to stop her, not security guards at the cafe, nor at a shop. One of the guards who saw her ran to the building to tell someone about her. He didn't try to do anything on his own." Stop! So my friends, how long? How long? How long will we continue to allow outrages like this to go on? Moscow, England, Denmark, Sweden, America. How much evidence do we need? How many examples do we need? This Muslim woman in the burqa was an ordinary citizen, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, a moderate Muslim. Right up until the moment she sawed the head off of a 4-year-old girl. Now you tell me, are there law-abiding, tax-paying, moderate Muslims living in your city? Well, if there are, you better be scared. Better be scared. Because you don't know which of them is going to become a cold-blooded maniac killer until it's too late. Who knows? Maybe the next child's head that a Muslim woman carries down the street will be yours. Maybe it'll be your daughter or son. Couldn't happen, you say? Well, I pray you're right. But I'll tell you one thing. As long as there are Muslims in this country, you better worry. Item from the Washington Examiner. The White House is quietly pushing for an increase in refugees from Syria, despite new concerns raised by state and county officials that federal help is often missing when they arrive. President Obama's assistant for immigration policy told the task force set up by the National Association of Counties that the U.S. is eyeing a bigger role to help alleviate the growing crisis. "We want to make sure we can increase our number of refugees that are able to settle here," said Felicia Escobar. "The need globally is so massive right now, given all the displacement and conflict around the world, but we also know we have to do what we have to do in a way that's smart," unquote. So tell me, Felicia, schmuck, you work for the United States or for the rest of the world? Why would anyone vote for Obama and his Democrats? We'll be back.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the point the people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's servants, not the people's masters? Liberty Forum and the Freedom Rider says, Officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities of modest emergency lighting all the way to commercial-scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom-designed system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15.
Guys, welcome back to Real Truth. I'm going to do you another favor. You got friends who still refuse to vote for Donald Trump? Okay. Go to my Facebook page, get the link to this video, and send it to them. 2 videos today which tell you exactly and precisely why Donald Trump is the guy we need for our next president. Here we go.
Hey, TV pundits, I see what you're doing and I don't like it. You know, how can you abide this boorish man? His crudities, his disgusting boorishness concerning women. It's a certain type of voter who's attracted to Trump. I guess to you, we would all be much better off with Marco or Ted or Jeb. What are we supposed to exactly like about them? Is it the time they brought up a topic that nobody wanted to talk about during this election, but the one that we have all been personally affected by low wages, lost job, can't work at Disney store because doesn't speak Spanish? Oh, that's right, none of them did that. That was Trump. Maybe it's because each one of them has demonstrated that he can actually appeal to a large group of voters, the star of his own reality TV show that destroyed in the ratings. Or is it because they took an unspectacular business and turned it into one of the most amazing brands on the planet and made billions while doing it? Trump is now grabbing all the low-hanging fruit by asking simple, powerful questions about birthright citizenship, how we choose our trade representatives, and how treating our military like second-class citizens makes us weaker in the eyes of the world. You point to anger as the reason Donald Trump is leading in the polls, as though there's no way that his supporters have simply made a rational choice that they think he's the person best suited to the times. Well, there are some rational reasons. First, he says he can't be bought. Second, the things he promises to do sound pretty darn good. And third, he's demonstrated he has the courage to actually do what he promises he'll do. When he says he can't be bought, most of you acknowledge that this attracts people, but treat it like that's some kind of an interesting cultural artifact instead of, a really great thing that's in his favor. So I have to conclude that you just don't see much value in this because the current way that our leaders get elected, it's working just fine for you guys. So let's ask some questions. Do you have anyone who has looked for an entry-level job in retail lately or in construction? Now, if you did, you'd see that opposition to illegal immigration is not some kind of knee-jerk racism, but it's a practical matter of language. I mean, do I need to know Spanish now to get a job? And wages. Should I consider building trades when you get guys to hang drywall for nothing? Is anyone in your family Hispanic or look Hispanic? Because it's no fun having people look at you and wonder, is he one of the illegal ones? How would you like to go through life getting resentful looks like that? Did you not know that this is a thing? If none of these apply, then I guess life for you is just peach fuzz and you're all A-OK with politicians who are the puppets of special interests. For us, not so much. The things he promises to do, they sound like common sense, especially in comparison to the last 25 years. You see, many policies, they seem to have no end game. For example, on illegal immigration, we apparently will welcome everyone, no matter what effect it might have on citizens in terms of wage deflation, or crime, or our schools, or our health care, etc., etc. What is the end game of that? It's a question you never seem to ask. And apparently the government will just keep becoming a bigger percentage of our economy, taking over more industries, the healthcare now, and renewable energy, and then maybe community colleges next. What is the logical end game of that growth? What's the end game for any of it? Now, Trump's ideas, on the other hand, seem to be grounded in common sense, and they all seem to have good end games. For example, you build a wall, you simplify taxes. Better trade deals is by definition good for us. We don't care if that has no end game. He's shown that he has the courage to actually do what he promises he'll do. You see, that's like the courage that attracted us to Ronald Reagan.
You tell him you asked for me if you would... I am paying for this microphone.
We see that kind of courage in Trump's life story. And then it's sometimes on display as well.
Against that person. Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight.
Why make a fuss over this? Make a fetish out of courage? Well, it's simply because any other qualities, they don't amount to much if our leader doesn't have courage. C.S. Lewis wrote this, quote, "The virtue of courage is a prerequisite for the practice of all other virtues. Otherwise, one is virtuous only when virtue has no cost," unquote. So really, what is the value in the end that Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio can fill out all the checkboxes of ideological purity if they don't have the courage? Consider the Republican representatives we elected in 2010 and 2014. Oh, they all checked off the checkboxes, but what have they actually accomplished? I should add an observation for you younger folks that a president with courage can be an amazing thing. If Trump wins, get ready to see something you haven't seen before. Maybe he'll fire the folks at the IRS who targeted political enemies. Maybe he'll replace the TSA with people who can actually detect explosives. Or he'll frog walk to jail a CEO who employs illegal immigrants. You could look forward to seeing something that you've never seen before and never thought you would see in this country. Something that will make you glad someone with courage is finally in charge. My suggestion to you pundits is keep it up. Keep sneering at him and calling us his rubes. Keep it up until you get him so angry that he'll focus his entire will and energies in life to proving you wrong. So go ahead and mock him. Mock his hair, his New York flair, his taste in architecture, his taste in women. And most of all, make fun of us, his supporters, so that he makes it his main goal in life to make you look like fools by making America great again. Maybe you don't need that, but we sure do.
Once again, my friends, Facebook page, Real Truth Radio, that's Riell. You'll find both the videos I played today. Watch them. Send them around. Send them around today, because today is Super Tuesday. Send them to everybody you know. There are lots of other primaries down the road. And if Trump doesn't clinch it absolutely today, and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz don't drop out of the race today, that other people need to know why it's smart to vote for Trump. Item from the Tokyo Reporter. The Tokyo Reporter confirms that 2 of only 27 Muslim refugees living in Japan have already gang raped, assaulted, and robbed a female citizen. Onder Pinarbasi, 22, and his 16-year-old male friend forced an intoxicated woman into a public restroom near JR Akabane station, where they brutally assaulted her and stole her belongings. Pinarbasi has been charged with rape and robbery, but he blames his teen accomplice for the crimes. The 16-year-old admitted to stealing $80 from the woman, but swears, quote, "I did not force myself upon her," unquote. The pair were caught assaulting the 30-something-year-old woman, prompting police to make the arrest, unquote. My friends, listen, don't worry about this. You have nothing to worry about. Your wives, your children, your mothers, they have nothing whatsoever to worry about. Well, you know, unless there are Muslims in your city. Oh, there are? Oh. Well, they've got plenty to worry about. Plenty. Item from the Weekly Standard. Only 75 people came out to hear Chelsea Clinton condemn the Republicans for being racist, homophobic, and sexist. Clinton called this election the most important one of her lifetime. Stop. Question. Why would anyone who doesn't have a learning disability, isn't on narcotic drugs, and hasn't had an operation on his head, go out to listen to Chelsea Clinton say anything? It's a hell of a question, right? We'll be back. All right, guys, all done. Share this show with everybody. Go to my Facebook page. Those 2 videos about Trump. Share those and do it today. Because you can't get the word out fast enough. Forget the party hacks. Forget the political whores. The people who are bought and paid for. Only one person running for president is not. And so that's the person we've got to support. I'll see you tomorrow. Hasta luego.